you check the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
Oh, Wolfman.
We are doing another dual movie review today. This is another 2 requested reviews from patrons. Technically 1 patron. Thank you to Heather Smith for requesting these. This is going to be our review of the 5th and 6th installment in the Lake Placid franchise. So we're going to be covering Lake Placid versus Anaconda, which we can finally cover now that we've covered the whole Anaconda series.
Yes.
And then we're going to be covering the 2018, I guess, kind of reboot, Lake Placid Legacy. And so, yeah, we're going to get into both of those this time. We did Lake Placid 1 and 2, and then Lake Placid 3 and 4. Yeah. And now we're doing Lake Placid 5 and 6, which just happens to be part of the Anaconda franchise as well. Yep. So we're starting off with Lake Placid versus Anaconda, which I gotta say, honestly, is almost a misnomer, because we get an Anaconda at the very beginning of the movie, and then we get an Anaconda in like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Dude, it was like...
And like, ne'er the tween shall meet. Like, there is no Anaconda for like an hour in between.
Seriously, I was saying to Cecil, like, as we were watching this, I'm like, this isn't even a versus movie. It's such a cash grab bullshit. Like, well, Boa
Can't really call it a cash grab.
Well, okay, well, you know what I mean. Okay, you know.
This thing wasn't grabbing any cash.
That's goddamn true. Nothing. Not even from the cast to where it would... Okay, there was a couple location shots that were kind of nice. They were actually pretty. They did shoot in a nice location.
Okay.
I will give them at least that. But holy crap, was this a steaming pile of dog crap. This was probably one of the worst ones out of probably the whole franchise, I would say.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean,
that's where I'm leaning towards it. Like, the overacting from our sorority girls and just everybody, even our recurring character of Reba. Yeah. She wasn't very good in this.
Played by Yancey Butler. She was the character from Lake Placid 3 and 4. Yes. And then we also had Robert Englund coming back as his character from Lake Placid 4, the final chapter, minus a limb or two. And so he's back in this one. Reba's back in this one. And they lean also heavily into the dipshit deputy sort of trope.
Dude, I am so sick of that. Just give me... Seriously, give me some characters that can handle their fucking job and aren't incompetent douchebags.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, you dipshit. How did you even make it onto the force?
Yeah, so that was a silly thing, but so basically the way this happens, so Lake Placid versus Anaconda takes place, or it's made in 2015. Technically, the last 2 Lake Placids happened after the Anaconda 3 and 4, so we were a little ahead with those chronologically. But in this one, they do touch on the blood orchid aspect again, which was a central, sort of plot device of of Anaconda 2 through 4.
Yeah.
So in this one, the blood orchid is back in play, and the anacondas and the crocodiles are sort of at odds with each other, although it's never really explained why. And there's only 2 different instances where they even meet, let alone fight.
Yeah, and that's more on just the, hey, you're in my territory, fuck off kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's literally all it is. There's no fighting stuff, because I was like, Boa versus Python. There's more fighting in that than anything.
Yeah. This was just silliness and a lot of characters that you don't care about.
No.
And the effects are still so bad. Very obvious CG even in 2015, and it was not great. It was not great. The problem with the CG in this one is that all the CG was like out in broad daylight. Like they put the crocs and the anacondas out during the daytime when most of the film happens. They didn't do a lot of nighttime filming because it is more dangerous and more expensive to do, and they had very obviously limited budgets for Lake Placid 3 through 6. Lake Placid or Lake Placid 3 through 5 rather. Lake Placid 6 Legacy clearly had a bit more budget, just not put towards the effects.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that, yeah.
We'll get into that.
But yeah, this one was just the third of the Reba trilogy, essentially, is the way that I'm looking at it. And
even her, though, like, she was so wasted in
ineffectual.
There
yeah.
was nothing happened in this movie.
No stakes.
No stakes. Like, you didn't care about even our main.
Well, no, there was someone that she was working with who was looking for his daughter.
Oh, that was
the stakes.
But even then, there was nothing to it.
Yeah.
Because even with that, nothing. There was a couple. Okay, you had your attack scenes and whatnot, but even with that, nothing really happened.
Agreed.
Like, it wasn't until it was like the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie when that stuff actually started happening.
And even at that, it was rushed and not interesting.
Oh, that was brutal. It was super brutal. But just like, even like going back to like your night shots that you were talking about for like those effects, they still colored the croc and the anaconda even on the night shots the same as what they did for the day shots.
Yeah.
Like, you had a glowing anaconda at nighttime falling out of this place that he was coming from, and
it was bad. And so story wise, it was just a continuation of sort of what we got before in Lake Placid 3 and 4 with Reba. She's sheriff of the town, and it's about Black Lake and Clear Lake. And what happens is, at the beginning of the movie, I guess the crocodiles escape from Black Lake and into Clear Lake, and that's where the sorority sisters go for their rush class, you know. And it's a bunch of silliness. One of the girls rushing the sorority is the daughter of the local fishing game professional.
Tull.
Yeah, Tull, who is tapped to help out Reba in this scenario. And it's about them escaping the crocodiles and the anacondas, which eventually show up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty aimless. It's pretty stupid. The story itself is nonsensical and not really worth a lot of time, in my opinion.
No, there was at least like they tried making a continuous story with one of the bad guys and everything, the daughter character and shit. Like, so I can at least kind of appreciate that somewhat. You tried to at least continue on the story. There was one shot that I thought was funny, and probably their best shot was the inside grenade scene.
Yeah.
If you know, I remember that one. Like, yeah, that probably was the best scene. That was probably most of their budget, honestly, in that making that cylinder.
Well, I will say that this one is the closest of the Lake Placid movies to being so bad it's good. It's still really bad, but there were a couple of times where it was really good bad. Like, there was one really funny line where...
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where someone is talking to, like, I believe it was the head...
Yeah, it was the head cheerleader girl. It was the goth girl.
No. Yeah, it was the goth girl talking
to
the head of the sorority, and she's like, "Oh, you did everything someone like you can be expected to do," or something like that. And it really made me laugh.
That was the good line. Honestly,
was a really funny line.
Out of all the characters, the daughter character and then her friend, the goth girl, they actually were the more entertaining and probably the best written.
Those two,
and
Reba
acted.
and Tull, were the only ones kind of worth it. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
but again, they weren't really given anything to work with.
No,
they really weren't. Like, the writing was pretty damn mid.
Yeah,
and it's kind of a shame, because you see, it's like, okay, you guys your writers are not giving a shit. How are you not? How are you gonna let that draft out? And then you're really gonna be happy with, like, just especially with the line, like the writing for the line delivery stuff. Those are rough.
Yeah.
The unnecessary jokes, and I'm just maybe it was the whole
even thinking about the
thing.
movie's making me tired.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing.
No, the sorority stuff was really bad, and like it was just
overplayed.
It was reasons for shots behind asses and giving the bitchy sorority sister way too much screen time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just rough, and it was not interesting. And You know, it was muddled as far as how it transpired and like who wanted what. Like there was no clear sort of desire of what needed to be done except for the fact that Tull wanted to rescue his daughter. Outside of that, it was pretty nonsensical and just not that interesting.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of bad CG, again, like Anaconda 3 and 4, which we reviewed more recently. But I'm guessing like Lake Placid 3 and 4, Lake Placid 3 and 4, just bad CG that doesn't look like it fits.
Oh, absolutely. No, the CG is absolutely terrible.
Because it's done during the daytime.
Here's one thing, though. Again, like I had mentioned to you when we were initially starting the movie in the beginning shot, is they actually designed the anacondas to look like anacondas, unlike what happened towards the end of the Anaconda franchise with the mutations and all the other crap like that. These ones actually had the coloring and the shaping of the green anaconda and things like that.
Well, and we were supposed to have been introduced to the Crococonda.
Yeah, the Crococonda.
There was a Piranhaconda movie. That's already been made. No, Crococonda, where it was a crossbreed of crocodiles and anacondas. Supposedly we saw them at one point, but they just look like mini crocodiles to me. So, like, it's kind of all over the place. It's stupid. It's nonsensical. It's not worth your time. But it does technically round out the Reba trilogy. I am actually a lot more excited to talk about the last film in the series.
That is very
which
true.
is Lake Placid Legacy. Which, I gotta be honest, after watching it this time, and considering that it's the only DVD I don't have, I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've never watched Lake Placid.
I had never seen Lake Placid Legacy. I thought I had because I watch all of these movies, but I think this came out in the era... Yeah, 2018 was after I had been burning all the movies I could rent from Blockbuster that I could, and before I started making sure I kept up on everything. There was this weird couple-year transition. So I had never seen this, and I gotta be honest... Lake Placid Legacy it's not a reboot, but it is one of those where you can pretty much ignore everything except the first movie. It doesn't really have to do with the Reba trilogy or even anything like that. It just touches on the fact that there was a giant crocodile in Lake Placid. And what's interesting is that this one is not strictly a crocodile. This is actually basically a Jurassic Park hybrid situation where it's part crocodile, part prehistoric crocodile. So it's like way bigger than usual. So it's like the Meg of the Lake Placid series.
That's true.
And I kind of dug that. And here's the thing, just straight up, this movie was better made, better acted, and better written than like all but the first Lake Placid movie.
Facts.
Like it's better than all of them, and the effects are still not good. The effects are still very obviously CG, but this is the only one that kept the CG crocodile in the dark. Like it did not put it out in the forest in the middle of the daytime, not interacting with anything around it. It was dark. Anytime it was on, it was very much in the shadows and obscured and stuff like that, which is what you have to do if you have as limited a budget. Like, that's the interesting thing. This movie clearly had a modest independent budget, but it spent it on making the film look like a film. It didn't look like a straight to DVD film. It looked like a theatrically presented film. The acting was way better than the last 4 films in the Lake Placid franchise. The only thing that was lacking was the effects arena. But that's awesome because usually the in-between effect stuff is what kills a movie like this. In this case, the in-between the effect stuff was the strong stuff.
That's true.
So honestly, it's weird, but I liked it. I liked Lake Placid Legacy.
I did too. This was one of the surprising ones where I found myself, again, really enjoying this. I couldn't stop actually kind of complimenting how well they shot the movie, how, like the set locations and design that they were going for.
The production design was incredible.
Absolutely.
Lots of different locations, and all of it looked organic to their world.
It did, and it was basically because they were supposed to be urban explorers.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it was.
Right.
Is they were just an
interesting, unique story tale. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Urban explorers just running amok on a a lost creature, pretty much. And yeah, this again, like I was saying, this was a surprisingly fun time. The music was fun. Again, with the effects, yeah, it was pretty bad for what we had.
But the cinematography was actually really good.
But the gore that they utilized with the kills,
yeah, there was practical gore,
pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Unlike what we have been getting
Correct.
with the previous Lake Placids. Because with the previous Lake Placids, anytime people were killed, they would be laying in one spot as the fucking gator.
As it's just
These
doing
guys,
its thing to obscure the shot.
Yeah,
this
they
one
actually pick up and
some
move
of the kills do happen off screen.
That's true.
But there are some that start to happen on screen that you're like, okay, it doesn't look the best, but they're going for it and they're giving us time to appreciate
and they're
the
giving
kill.
us the gore.
Yeah.
There is one shot that still doesn't make any sense, and that's the head.
Right, I agree with that.
Makes
there was the whole porthole window attack that made no sense as it played out.
Yeah, it was weird. And it was kind of like I kind of thought that character was actually going to do a little bit more than what they'd given. So I was a little disappointed in how they wrote that character.
I was actually surprised that the most annoying character got offed as early as he did. I thought they were going to save that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? The one that was constantly whining.
I'm kind of glad they didn't, though.
Well, I'm glad he got offed when he got offed, but I do feel like dramatically it would have made more sense to have his annoying ass hang in there and be taken in a much more grandiose fashion.
Yeah.
But, that's nitpicking. That's nitpicking.
Yeah, no.
Like, the fact that we have that as a nitpick is emblematic of the fact that this was a well-made film.
Surprisingly enough,
again, the effects are rough, and if you can deal with that, this is a film that actually was made well enough where, even with the rough effects, I think it's worth a watch.
Oh, absolutely! I would definitely go back and rewatch.
Especially if you're like a Meg fan. Again, the effects aren't going to be even as good as Meg or Meg 2, but it's a similar thing. It's a prehistoric crocodile attacking fools, and like Jaws, right? Robert made this comparison earlier on today. They keep the shark off the screen. They keep the croc off the screen for a good amount of time. I don't think it's as impactful when you do see it because it's still CG instead of practical.
Yeah,
but it's still cool, and you can tell that they're putting the effort into making the film scary, even with that limitation.
There was the final confrontation with the fire that looked pretty bad. There were some pretty weak points, especially with that towards the end. But then again, going back to the nice thing is they kept him in the dark. Like there was a couple scenes where it's like it was extremely foggy or gassy. That worked really well with the red lights. Like little things like that. Like again, like yeah, they kept him off camera and things like that. You knew what it was. Obviously, you know what the hell it is, but it still helps just for that little psychological illusion. Yeah. That's really all you needed.
I feel like they could have taken the budget for the CG effects in this case and taken all of that money and just built one big scale mouth and like front half. They could have filmed everything that we saw with practical just for those moments. Like this does feel like, you know, a good low budget movie that would have used practical for the very few shots they got and obviously invested the rest of the budget in making the rest of the movie look good. The rest of the movie looked good. Yep. They just didn't spend the money on the CG effects. I feel like, though, all of the cost of the CG effects could have built one practical maw that they could have used in the movie.
It's very.
We'll never know, obviously, but I feel like that could have been done and it would have raised the quality here.
Especially just like that shoulder up kind of shot for those major effects, and then
just front paws and above it. Like that's all they'd need.
Yeah. Because again, those other obscure shots of like the big movements and stuff, then you could probably do some CG if you need.
You could still at that point, but those shots are the ones that looked faker. When the thing is writhing around, it's moving way too fast for a creature that the size it's supposed to be.
Oh, exactly. For how massive it is, the croc never should be able to move.
Yeah, so like just eliminate those shots and just show the practical whomping up and down. You know what I mean? That's just me, you know. No, it's easier said than done.
No, I get you.
But I do still appreciate that this film series went out on a high note. Lake Placid Legacy is actually worth your time, even if the effects aren't.
True. No, very true.
So there you go, guys. That's going to do it. Thank you again to Heather Smith for requesting the Lake Placid series for us to go through here for Patreon. And for our regular viewers, because I know a lot of you guys are creature feature fans like us, and so I wanted to have reviews of all the Deep Blue Sea movies, all the Anaconda movies, all the Lake Placid movies, all that stuff right here. And so next, I think I want to focus on the Hillbilly movies. I want to finish up the Wrong Turn franchise, and I want to cover the Hills Have Eyes franchise, because I have a comic that I can do a tie-in on TikTok with for the Hills Have Eyes. So I think that's what we'll be focusing on next, is getting through those Wrong Turn movies. But thank you guys very much for watching. If you've been watching our Monster Universe, or not, it's not the Monsterverse, but our low-budget Monsterverse coverage here. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Rob Wolfman.
And remember, stay scared.